We don't hear much about the French Air Force these days. In fact, France is keeping pretty quiet about her defence forces generally, which is probably a sign of strength. That the French Air Force must not be overlooked is clear from these pictures of an aerial display at Étampes, where squadrons of fighters, scouts and bombers are lined up before the takeoff on a series of training exercises. Development of the bomber has evolved strange types, and if these machines appear fragile, they certainly afford the crew splendid visibility. And what do they see below? Typical French countryside with its long, straight, poplar-lined roads and the wide expanse of cultivated land with no hedges dividing field from field. French warplanes over a peaceful France.
In Germany, there's no secret about the country's determination to beat the Russians in the art of mass parachuting. Airman after airman dives from the plane. The chutes open quickly, and a small army drops from the sky. The plan is to land troops in a strategic position, perhaps even behind the enemy lines. Russia has made a feature of this exercise. Now Germany follows suit, and a German army comes down to earth with a bump.
But if Germany's army manoeuvres, amongst other things, give rise to nervousness abroad, there are other events to allay it. For example, the visit of General Vuillemin, Chief of the French Air Staff, to Berlin, where he is welcomed by General Milch. A wreath is laid by the visiting general on the tomb of Germany's unknown soldier, a gracious gesture from one country to another. The visit returns that of General Milch to France some months ago, and it's rumoured that it may pave the way for a Franco-German air pact.
The RAF is climbing back to that old supremacy, which made it the most formidable air force at the end of the war. And the new types of fighting machines are beginning to reach the squadrons in large numbers. Commanding North Hill Station near London is Wing Commander Oliver on the left, a Snyder Trophy fame. And among the officers are pilots who have recently been creating records with the new Hawker Hurricane fighters, with which the station is now equipped. These machines take off in a demonstration for the camera of their high-speed capabilities. Their Merlin engines are rated at 1,000 horsepower, and on a recent flight described as routine, one aircraft of this type completed the journey from Edinburgh to London at an average speed of 408.75 miles an hour. Such pictures as these must inspire a new feeling of confidence, the present state of international politics being what it is. More realistic war practice is carried out in France, where bombers load up with giant messengers of death. The planes have blocked 201 machines, and they're off on a mock raid over enemy territory. One method of deterring your foe from bombing you is to be ready and able to bomb him. And this is the idea behind the maneuvers as the explosive cargo flies down to earth. This is practice. In China and Spain, it's reality. The French air show at Villers-Cotterêts becomes a Franco-British occasion, in which the aircraft of both countries are associated in a stirring display of formation flying and aerobatics. The French fighters' high-wing monoplanes bank and turn about President Lebrun, who is obviously impressed. Then come the 11 Hurricanes, whose speed over the aerodrome makes the French spectators swivel on their seats. You can see their number, 111 Squadron, on their fuselage. And here are the French bombers with their curiously shaped hulls and a machine gun in the nose. Finally, the French too are practicing the art of massed parachute jumping, and the parachutists drop like leaves from the passing planes. The moral seems to be, don't overlook the French Air Force. Ever since Germany marched into the Rhine, and the era of power politics began all over again, the question of air rearmament has been the nation's most fundamental problem. There were early misgivings over the plan adopted for production of machines in shadow factories. Lord Nuffield said, God help you if war comes. However, the tales of wonderful new machines which filtered through from informed sources and their performances when they began to be produced allayed anxiety. Then the shock of Germany's occupation of Austria shook complacency. In particular, the part taken by aviation in that spectacular coup gave some indication of Germany's air strength. Parliament grew restive, and a committee of members visited aerodromes to study the situation. Plans for speeding up production by double shifts were announced. Lord Nuffield's name as the apostle of mass production was bandied about again. Now Hitler has visited Mussolini, and the Italian dictator has put on an air show for his friend which has impressed even Hitler with Italy's air strength. And so Parliament has taken the government to task. The government's steadfast reply is, don't panic, and Mr. Chamberlain has stood by his colleague Lord Swinton, the Air Minister. The latter announces the programme of 3,500 first-line aircraft by March 1940. Is 3,500 in 2 years' time enough?
There's been a change at the Air Ministry, and Sir Kingsley Wood has been transferred from the Ministry of Health to replace Lord Swinton. The new Air Minister has a big reputation as an organiser, based primarily on his record as Postmaster General. His job now will be to multiply Britain's aeroplanes as he multiplied our telephones. It's not too much to say that the future of the British Empire depends on the creation of an invincible air power.
There's still a couple of minutes left in this reel for aviation, so here's one of the most effective weapons of the air in existence, the Spitfire. Deliveries of Britain's super machine are soon to be made to the RAF, and new pilots will shortly be flying this type. The Spitfire is very hush-hush, of course. Though you can see from this picture that it can perform aerobatics with ease, you can only guess its speed, for that's one of the Air Ministry's secrets. It would be used if necessary to intercept and destroy raiding bombers.
The Secretary of State for Air had previously been on a visit to France. Here at Villacoublay he sees the latest French bombers and fighters. He examines the controls and follows with knowing interest the flight of the French counterpart of the Spitfire. And flying into New York comes the German plane Condor after the first direct flight from Berlin. Crowds swarm round the machine to greet the crew of 4 who have proved that keen competition in transatlantic air travel must be expected in the near future. The return journey takes just under 20 hours, and a great welcome awaits the Condor at the Tempelhof Aerodrome, Berlin. The 4-engined monoplane is an ordinary commercial machine with extra petrol tanks added for the occasion. England and France continue their conversations on defence, and a British air mission arrives at Le Bourget for technical talks with the French Air Command. Leader of the mission is Air Chief Marshal Sir Cyril Newall, the lean ex-soldier who is now Air Chief of Staff. While in France, Sir Cyril will see the prototypes or first models of the new planes with which the French Air Force will be re-equipped over the next 2 years. To view the latest in planes comes President Lebrun to the Grand Palais in Paris. Many European nations and America are exhibiting, though the majority are French war machines naturally. Their camouflage bombers and fighters attract interest, but experts tell me that in performance Britain's latest types are still ahead. For instance, a Hurricane fighter, one of our fastest planes, is to be seen. Destroyer, the French air race, is present, and among civil exhibits is a mock-up of the huge new French flying boat for transatlantic service.
For aviation this week there's plenty of interesting material, and Sir Kingsley Wood is responsible for a lot of it. When he greets Lord Nuffield so effusively at Castle Bromwich, the Air Minister has in his pocket an order for 1,000 Spitfires, and for the factory which will turn them out, he cuts the first sod.
A welcome sight is to be seen in the Vickers Works at Eastleigh, one of the factories where the production of Spitfires is rapidly going ahead. In the present state of Europe, it seems that the country couldn't possibly have too many of these fighters, which claim to be the fastest in the world. Their powerful engines are lined up ready for installation, and every operation of manufacture and assembly is carried out with that delicate precision for which British workmanship is famous. On completion, the machines are given a thorough tryout, and you'll no doubt be pleased to notice the rapidity of their climb and their handiness in the air.
The Festival of the Entente, they call it, and as a preliminary, Royal Air Force planes are massed on French aerodromes for inspection by the French Air Minister. Britain's latest types are here. No plane, French or English, flying over Paris on July the 14th is more than 6 months old. And they turn their heads to watch the sentinels of the sky go by. Led by Royal Air Force squadrons, the planes of the two countries traverse the route from above, reinforcing the morale of those marching legions below. United we stand, and woe betide an aggressor.